What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my March 8th Bracketology Predictions. Let's dive into it. This week, we got some more automatic qualifiers here. On my last Bracketology was on Sunday, so the new ones we had Charleston, Northern Kentucky, Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State's first NCAA tournament appearance. Then we had Furman, UNC Asheville, Drake just dominated Bradley in their final game. And then we have Louisiana from the Sun Belt, Oral Roberts, and then Gonzaga just crushed St. Mary's last night. And also some big news. The Syracuse coach, obviously Syracuse just lost today in the ACC tournament. The Syracuse coach, Jim Boeheim, has officially retired. A legendary career for him. And he'll be missed in the college basketball world. But with all that, let's look at this bracket here. Starting out with the bracket watch, the top overall seed is going to be Kansas here. And then the first team out, we have Oklahoma State, the Big 12 tournament starting. I believe it's starting today. I think Oklahoma State's playing today, so they need to win. Then the last team in Nevada also cannot afford a bad loss in the Mountain West tournament. But if we look at the bubble here, at the last four byes, we got Boise State, NC State, Pittsburgh, who just got a win today against Georgia State, probably safe in the field at this point. And then we got another Pennsylvania team. We have Penn State. Then the last four in, we got Mississippi State, Utah State, Rutgers, who has fallen now in the last four in. They took a tough loss on Sunday to, I believe it was Nebraska. Yeah, Rutgers is not playing well right now. They need to turn things around. And then we got Nevada. First four out, we got Oklahoma State. Wisconsin also finds themselves out of the tournament. Need to have a go on a run. They need to beat Ohio State today. I believe, the Big Ten tournament starts today, so they need to win. Then we got Arizona State and North Carolina. And then the next route, we got Michigan, Charleston, Clemson, and Oregon. All those teams, Charleston's already in the field, but could be a potential bid thief, I guess, if they get up there. But anyway, let's look at the bracket here. New to the field here, we got Utah State and then Rutgers, as I mentioned, falling now into the last four in at the 11th seed. Need to beat Michigan. Also, we have a big game tomorrow between Rutgers and Michigan. Basically a tournament elimination game there. Both those teams need that game desperately. All right, but let's look. Not very much movement at all, as we can see here. But Northern Kentucky, as I mentioned, an automatic qualifier here, getting new to the field at a 16 seed. We have West Virginia jumping up to a 9 seed. Drake, as I mentioned, just crushing Bradley. They're going to be new to the field at a 12 seed from the Missouri Valley Conference. Then, as I mentioned earlier, St. Mary's took a bad loss last night to Gonzaga. Also, on Monday night, they were up like 26 or something to BYU, my BYU Cougars, and they almost blew that lead. It was like, at one point, it was a 3-point game, I believe, with like under a minute left. I mean, it was just bad for St. Mary's. They could not get past that full court press. Then we have Penn State jumping up to a 2 seed. Duke going to be falling to a 7 seed, and Colgate going to be dropping down to 15. Duke has a big matchup versus Pittsburgh in their next game. All right, in the East region here, we have Boise State dropping down to a 10 seed, as well as Montana State new to the field at a 15 in the Big Sky because Eastern Washington lost. So there's a new qualifier there that can be earned. And then we have in the West region, UCLA as that number 1 seed. Oh, I forgot to mention the 1 seeds. I always do. Kansas, the 1 seed in the Midwest. Alabama, the second 1 seed in the South. And then Houston, the 3rd in the East. But then, UCLA, the 1 seed, they got a match in the Pac-12. If they can do good in the Pac-12 tournament, they're going to be guaranteed to be a 1 seed at this point. Then we have Florida Atlantic jumping up to an 8 seed. At this point, even if they lose in their conference tournament, they're probably safe. So we could see a bid thief from, I want to say it was the I'm not sure what conference. I just made a video on which conference, but I'm not sure. Because I made every single conference tournament video, by the way, if you guys want to check those out. But anyway, jumping into a 5 seed, we have Kentucky because of St. Mary's dropping there. And then Charleston, who the fielded at 12 seed, as I mentioned, beating UNC Wilmington last night to get that spot. And then Pittsburgh going to be dropping down to a 3 seed. Northwestern dropping down to a 7 seed. And then Providence dropping down to a 10 seed. All right, well, let's look at this bracket here. Starting out with the first 4 games, we got Mississippi State versus Utah State. I'm going to go with Mississippi State in this one to win. And then Southeast Missouri State versus Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm going with Southeast Missouri State. Fairleigh Dickinson, even though they lost in their conference tournament last night to Merrimack, they're still going to be in the field because Merrimack does not qualify for it for some reason. I really do not like that rule. I think the NCAA needs to change it. But anyway, Nevada, I think, could beat Rutgers, and then Howard can beat Alcorn State. All right, so let's go over here for a spot in the round of 32. I think that Kansas will be able to hold off Southeast Missouri State, and then another Missouri team here. A good matchup. I did this. This was a matchup last time. I'm going to pick Missouri, though. I just like them a little bit more. As much as I like VCU, the Rams, I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Miami. I'm going with the Hurricanes, and Indiana, I think, could beat Toledo. I'm going to go with an upset pick here. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to go with the 11 seed. If they weren't coming off the first 4 game, I maybe not would do that, but they are. So I'm going to pull off the upset. I'm not the biggest fan of Michigan State in the world. Mississippi State's a good team out of the SEC. I'm going with the upset pick. And then Marquette, I do think can beat Kennesaw State. Texas A&M against NC State. I'm going to go with Texas A&M, as well as Arizona beating UNC Asheville. All right, let's go to the West region here. UCLA, I think, can beat Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Florida Atlantic versus Auburn. I'm going to go with – that's a good matchup, but I'm going to go with Florida Atlantic. Kentucky, I think, can hold off Charleston. And I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go 13 seed Utah Valley pulling off the win over Virginia. Utah Valley, a good 13 seed. I'm not a big fan of Virginia at all, so I'm going to go with the upset pick. San Diego State, I do think can beat Pittsburgh, as well as Gonzaga beating Furman. A good matchup between Northwestern and Providence, but I'm going to go with Northwestern. And Texas, I think, could beat Vermont. All right, so let's go over here. Alabama, I do think could hold off Northern Kentucky in that game. And Illinois versus West Virginia, a good 8 versus 9, but I'm going to go with Illinois. TCU, I think, could beat Drake. Xavier could beat Yale. And I'm going to go with another 11 seed upset pick here. I'm going to go with Penn State pulling off the win over St. Mary's. Penn State's a good 11 seed there. And St. Mary's, we saw that they were kind of exposed last night against Gonzaga. So Penn State, a hot team. St. Mary's, a cold team. I'm going with the upset with Penn State. Kansas State, I do think could beat UC Irvine. And then Duke, I think, can hold off USC, as well as Purdue beating Colgate. All right, down here, Houston versus Howard. I'm going with the Cougars of Houston. Maryland, I think, could beat Arkansas. I don't think any 9 seed has won then. Yeah, no 9 seeds in this bracketology have won. And then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go 12 seed Oral Roberts. Isn't that my first upset? Yeah, it is. I'm going to go with the upset pick there. Oral Roberts, really good team. They just dominated whoever they played in their championship final there. Oral Roberts, man, they are looking really freaking good team here. I think that Iowa State, obviously, this is a weird team here. They can beat about anybody, but also I think that they can lose to about anybody. And Oral Roberts is a team that's going to be tough to beat. I'm going with them to pull off the upset. But I am going to go with UConn to beat Iona. Creighton against Nevada. As much as I like Nevada, they've been struggling lately. I'm going to go with Creighton, as well as Tennessee beating Louisiana. Iowa against Boise State. I'm going to go with have we gone with the 10 seed upset pick here yet? Okay, yeah, since we haven't, I got to go with at least one, and this one could go either way in my opinion. I'm going to go with Boise State. Iowa, good team. If they're not on, they can lose in any game here. Boise State, also a really good team in the Mountain West. I'm going to give them the upset pick, and then I'm going to go with Baylor to beat Montana State. All right, so here in the round of 32, Kansas versus Missouri, I'm going to go with the Jayhawks. Indiana, I think, could beat Miami. Marquette, I think, could beat Mississippi State, and then Arizona, I think, could beat Texas A&M. So all chalk in that region in the round of 32. And then down here, I do think that UCLA will be able to beat Florida Atlantic. Kentucky, I think, could beat Utah Valley. Really good matchup between San Diego State and Gonzaga. I could see San Diego State pulling off that upset, but Gonzaga looked too impressive last night. I'm going with Gonzaga. And then Texas, I do think it beat Northwestern. So all chalk so far in the round of 32. Let's see if it could change over here. Alabama, I do think it beat Illinois. I guess this is a slight first upset here. TCU against Xavier. I'm going to go with the 5/4 upset pick there. I'm going to go with TCU. Kansas State, I do think it beat Penn State. And then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go Duke to beat Purdue. Don't get me wrong, Purdue's a really freaking good team. I mean, they're kind of inconsistent right now, and I think that the Blue Devils are the best team in the ACC at the moment. I'm going to go with the Duke to pull off the win. And then Houston versus Maryland. As much as I would like to see Maryland pull off that upset, I'm going to have to go with Houston in that game. Connecticut, I think, could beat Oral Roberts. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go with Creighton to beat Tennessee. Tennessee just lost one of their star point guards. I don't think it's going to be enough to be a very red-hot Creighton team if they're on. I'm going with the it's slipping my mind. Whatever bird Creighton is. The Blue Jays, I think, right? I'm not sure, but anyway, moving on. Baylor, I think, could beat Boise State. So yeah, no 1 seed or 2 seed going down in the second round. That is, I mean, I just don't like these matchups here. Usually I do have at least one, but one seed or 2 seed go down in the first round. But these matchups just don't really have it happen. All right, but then Kansas versus Indiana. You know, let's flip it up. I want to go with the 4-seeded Indiana. I've been picking Kansas to win the national championship a few times in a row, but I like Indiana, the Hoosiers. I actually had these two meet up in the championship game a few bracketologies ago. In Indiana, I really do like them. They're an impressive team, so I'm going to go with Indiana to pull off the upset. Arizona, I do think it beat Marquette. UCLA versus Kentucky. I'm going to go with another. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go with Kentucky beating UCLA in this game. Kentucky, obviously one of the big blue blood schools. Obviously UCLA is one too, so this is a good matchup. But I do like the Wildcats of Kentucky. Good team. I think that they can pull off the upset. And then I'm going to go with, let's go with Gonzaga. Let's give Gonzaga some love. They played really good last night. I'm going to give them the win over Texas. All right, down here, Alabama versus TCU. I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide in that matchup. And then Duke versus Kansas State, I'm going with the Wildcats. All right, and then the Houston Cougars versus Connecticut, I'm going with Houston. And then Baylor, I think, can beat Creighton. All right, so got a little bit more crazy in that Sweet 16, but 40 spot in the Final Four, Arizona versus Indiana. Indiana, I very much like Indiana a lot. I very much like Arizona a lot as well. These two teams really good, but I'm going to actually pick Arizona to advance onto the Final Four. I believe in this program. And then Kentucky versus Gonzaga, a 5 seed versus a 2 seed, or a 3 seed, sorry. I'm going to go with Kentucky. Let's give the Kentucky Wildcats, and now we already have a matchup between two Wildcat schools there. I like Kentucky to advance. All right, Alabama versus Kansas State. I'm going to go with, let's go with Kansas State, a 3 seed pulling off the win. That is 3 Wildcat school. That is not on purpose, guys. But the Kansas State Wildcats, I think, can pull off the win over Alabama. And then Houston versus Baylor. I'm going to go with the Cougars for the only 1 seed to advance to the Final Four. So, as I mentioned, 3 Wildcats team, just a crazy coincidence there, as well as another Cat team in the Cougars. So, it is a Final Four for the Cats. Arizona versus Kentucky, 40 spot in the national championship game. And I'm going to go with Arizona to win it all. To win that Final Four game. And then Kansas State versus Houston. As much as I would like to see Kansas State advance, I'm going with the Cougars. So, we got Arizona, we got Houston, the team to win the national championship this year. And I'm going to go with the Houston Cougars to win it all. Just a dominant team right now in the AAC conference. And I think that they can get the job done. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions. And anyway, peace out.